Hola, hola YouTube, muy buenas. ¿Qué tal? ¿Todo bien? Bienvenidos al estudio de la método español. Soy el entrenador, profe Miguel. En esta lección vamos a empezar escuchando. I want you to listen to this, see how much of it you can pick out. Then we'll go over it together, jump into our lesson. You ready? Let's do it.
Oye, habla Omar. Esta noche pienso ir a la playa con algunos amigos para ver la puesta del sol. ¿Qué vas a hacer tú después de salir del trabajo? Deberías venir también.
Okay. Omar, he's dropping lots of infinitive verbs, lots of expressions with infinitive verbs. Basically, what that is when you have a conjugated verb that serves as an anchor out front, and then an infinitive verb to kind of plug and play. These are really important structures, good structures to help you improve your fluency, even though I don't love that word, right? To get you to flow a little bit better, to get you to have to stop thinking so much and stop to translate or stop to conjugate in your head, right? So you can feel a little more confident and stop stressing out about being perfect, right? So these are really commonly used expressions. Let's get into this. All right. Oh yeah, habla Omar. So when somebody calls you, and they say, hey, this is who it is. Habla Omar. Habla Profe Miguel, right? Esta noche pienso ir a la playa con algunos amigos. So pienso ir. I plan on going. I'm thinking about going, right? Para ver la puesta del sol. To watch the sunset, okay? ¿Qué vas a hacer tú después de salir del trabajo? So, we've got multiple infinitive verbs there. What are you gonna do? ¿Qué vas a hacer tú? What are you gonna do después de salir? After después de salir, after leaving work. Deberías venir también. You should come too, right? So there's multiple infinitive verbs in there, and you get told all the time, or I know high school students get told all the time, you have to have a conjugated verb, right? And then you think you have to conjugate every verb. That's not true. We do have conjugated verbs in these expressions. And these expressions are great because we learn the expression and then we learn a bunch of infinitive verbs, and now we can say hundreds, if not thousands, of different things, right? So you can create thousands probably of different sentences to produce some connected ideas, let's call it that. And again, you'll be able to speak more spontaneously than stopping all the time to think about what you're going to say. Oh, I got to put it in this tense, that tense. All right. So let's take a look here. What we got? We got deber plus infinitive, must do or should do. So deber means like you must do something, or like a suggestion, you should do something, right? Debes comer sano, for example. You should eat healthy or must eat healthy. No debes fumar. You shouldn't smoke, right? Again, we have the anchor verb debes in the to form, and then we have the infinitive verb following right behind it. Debemos ir a la fiesta. We should go to the party. Debo ponerme un abrigo. Should I put on a jacket, right? So ponerme comes from ponerse, which one of the uses of ponerse is to put something on yourself, right? So it's like, should I put on a jacket? When we use, these are called reflexive verbs in an expression with infinitives, we have to make the reflexive pronoun, which is the me there, agree with the subject, since the subject is yo from debo, right? Debo yo. Ponerme, right? And it can be attached to the infinitive verb at the end there. It could also go up front. You could say, me debo poner un abrigo, but it sounds better to me to say, debo ponerme un abrigo, okay? Deberías is the conditional tense of deber, right? It's the two forms, so it's a casual should. When I use it in present tense, it could be taken more as like a you have to or you must do this, right? But when you say deberías, it's no doubt about it, it's a suggestion you should, right? It's more conditional. So deberías comer sano, you could say debes comer sano, okay? No deberías fumar, you could say no debes fumar, sorry. Deberías ir a la fiesta? You could say debes ir a la fiesta, but debería sounds more like a casual suggestion, right? Debería ponerme un abrigo is more conditional. Do you think I should, right? Or something like that. All right. So one type of expression I love with these infinitive expressions is a certain type of if clause. Si. The word si we know is yes, but that's when it has the accent mark. Si without the accent mark is if. So it says, si te gusta ir a la playa, debes visitar Costa Rica. I would even maybe switch this and say, deberías visitar Costa Rica, right? So if you like the beach, you should visit Costa Rica. I love these kinds of if clauses, right? If you want to lose weight, you should go to the gym, right? We use these all the times when we communicate. Why not learn how to use them and start using them in Spanish? Because I feel like this is a very natural way to speak and it works in Spanish, it applies, okay? So the if clause, si te gusta ir a la playa, debes visitar Costa Rica. Si te gusta beber café, debes visitar o deberías visitar Colombia. IK plus infinitive. One must. So this is kind of impersonal. It's like one must. It's not you must. You could say it to somebody. Hay que tener cuidado. You have to be careful, or one must be careful. Okay? Si vas a Bogotá, Colombia, hay que tener cuidado. Si vas a Nueva York, hay que tener cuidado. Si estás nadando en el mar, hay que tener cuidado, right? So, the good one to know, hay que verlo. You have to see it. One must see it, right? Hay que verlo. Hay que comprar los boletos temprano. So it's like you have to buy the tickets. You have to get there and buy the tickets early, right? One must, or you have to. You could address somebody with this, but it's kind of like one must because it doesn't have to apply necessarily to anybody. Hay que probar la comida local. You have to try the local food. So IK plus infinitive, another really heavily used, frequently used expression that can help you, not have to pause and think about what you're going to say. Secret weapons these are. Use them. Pensar plus infinitive, planning to do something, right? So I'm planning to do this. I'm thinking about doing this because pensar means to think, all right? So mañana pienso ir a la playa. I'm thinking about going to the beach tomorrow. I'm planning on going to the beach tomorrow. Pienso relajarme este fin de semana. I'm planning on taking it easy this weekend. I'm planning on relaxing this weekend. So again, when it's followed by a reflexive verb, just make sure the pronoun matches the subject. In this case, is yo, so it's me. If it was tú, te, él, ella, se, nosotros, nos, right? Not a lesson on reflexive verbs. So let's move on. ¿Qué piensas hacer esta noche? What are you thinking about doing tonight? What are you planning on doing tonight? So you can use it to ask a question. Kind of like saying, ¿Qué vas a hacer esta noche, right? ¿Qué quieres hacer esta noche? Same kind of deal. Para plus infinitive. I just want to drop real quick. Para plus infinitive in here. Esta noche pienso pasar por el centro para comer la cena. So it's like in order to. You could also just kind of just mean to, right? So it'd be like, to get to the store, you have to go this way, right? Para ir a la tienda, tienes que seguir adelante, right? You got to go straight ahead, right? So para ir can mean that, but in this case, it's in order to, sort of, in English. Kind of, we wouldn't really speak this way in English, but it's how we speak in Spanish, right? So tonight I'm thinking about going downtown to eat dinner, go to a restaurant, whatever, right? So para comer, in order to. Which brings us to para plus infinitive, in order to. Para ser doctor hay que estudiar mucho. To be a doctor, in order to be a doctor, you have to study a lot, right? Fui al centro comercial para comprar unos tenis. This is a preterite tense hack, actually, when you just know how to use ir, like fui, I went somewhere. I went somewhere and did this. Instead of like compré, you could just say para comprar, and you kind of route around having to like do the whole preterite conjugation thing there. But hey, do you? Fui al centro comercial para comprar unos tenis. I went to the mall to buy some sneakers, right? Voy a España para visitar a mi amigo. I'm going to Spain to visit my friend, right? So it's, you wouldn't say it in English. We wouldn't say I'm going to Spain in order to see my friend, but it's kind of like, it's kind of what it translates to if you want to be stickler about it. All right, so some vocab for you. Dar un paseo, let's go for a walk. Suelo plus infinitive. You can use soler plus infinitive in a lot of different tenses. It's another expression with infinitives, but always do something, have a habit of doing something. So let's look at some examples of using después de, like after doing this, plus infinitive. So now when I use después de plus an infinitive, I'm kind of turning the infinitive verb into an ing, right? Without making it progressive. I'm turning it into ing, was what it would equivalent to in English. But anyway, an example is like, después de comer es bueno dar un paseo. So after eating, it's a good idea to go for a walk, or it's good to go for a walk, right? So después de comer, after of to eat, right? These things don't translate directly, so there's no use in doing the direct translation method when you're speaking. Just slows you down. Después de comer, es bueno dar un paseo, right? And you would say like, oh, after I eat, so it's like después de yo, like that doesn't work, right? It's después de comer, so now you don't have to think so much. Después de levantarme, after I wake up. Después de levantarme, after waking up, yo suelo escribir en mi diario. After waking up, I have a habit of writing in the diary. ¿Qué piensas hacer? ¿Qué piensas hacer después de salir del trabajo? What are you planning on doing after work? It's not a literal translation like what you're planning for after work, but we might say it like that in English, right? Again, they don't translate directly. And then después de has its counterpart antes de, before doing, right? So things you should do before doing, like estirarse, revisar, a check, desayunar, some vocab that we're going to see. So, antes de ir al trabajo, me gusta revisar mis correos electrónicos. Before going to work, I like to check my email. Antes de correr, es importante estirarse. Before running, it's important to stretch. So, es importante plus infinitive is another expression with infinitives. These are called impersonal expressions. I have a video about that. But anyway, impersonal expressions with infinitive. Estirarse, in this case, we're keeping estirarse, the reflexive verb. Estirarse, we're not changing the pronoun because we don't really have a subject. Before running, in general, right? So we're just going to use the third person say. ¿Quieres desayunar conmigo antes de salir para la playa? Do you want to eat breakfast with me before going to the beach, right? Before going, antes de salir. So antes de plus infinitive, después de plus infinitive. They are great expressions. A lot of times we might get stuck trying to say, before I go, before we do this. But really all we need to do is say antes de, después de, and then use an infinitive verb. So you see how these can speed you up because you could say hundreds of things, thousands of things with these expressions I've showed you today and make your own sentences in all kinds of different combinations. So to practice, I have some questions for you. The first question is, ¿Qué piensas hacer hoy después del trabajo? All right, what are you thinking about doing after work? What's your plan for after work? Or if you're not, like it's the weekend or something, este fin de semana, what's your plan for the weekend? ¿Para qué? What are you going to do in order to do what, right? So an example is, después del trabajo hoy, voy a ir al parque para jugar con mis hijas, right? Say like, I'm going to the park to play with my daughters. Que es algo que deberías hacer además. So what's something else you should do? Además, debería dedicar un poco de tiempo para mí. I should dedicate a little bit of time myself. Debería ir a surfear en la playa o debería hacer ejercicio por la tarde, whatever it might be, right? Incorporar, so find a way to throw in antes de. Find a way to put in después de, right? So, después de ir al parque de mis hijas, debería ir a la playa para surfear, right? So I've just used all kinds of infinitive verbs there and the expressions that we were using. And play around with this a little bit, all right? Journal this. This is something that you can send a text message to yourself if you're somewhere where you can't do that right now, right? Just like I do this all the time. I text myself a to-do list, right? You put in your phone number in the text message, send a little text message, right? Just something to keep your mind engaged with this so it sticks, that you make more of a connection. The voice memo app on your phone, right? It comes built into an iPhone. There's a voice memo app. I do voice memos all the time if I have an idea and I just don't want to lose it. All right. Something you could do is record yourself and listen to it, and maybe you give yourself a little bit of an evaluation, or just how do you sound when you're doing this, right? Do it in a journal. I talk about journaling all the time, right? At least a few times a week, I do some kind of activity in like a composition notebook. Um, it's just something that I do, right? It's you never get to the end of the game when you're learning a language. You got to keep practicing. And like with two little kids, I don't know what situation you're in, but I don't really get to surround myself with a lot of Spanish speakers. I don't really get out all that much. So anyway, throw it into your favorite AI chat box, right? Throw it into an AI system, whatever you use, and get some feedback. You can record yourself and let it hear you, right? And see if it can get the speech to text and give you some feedback, and maybe tell them what the prompt is and what level you're at, so that you can get real feedback, like sympathetic feedback. Anyway, this isn't homework. This is the engagement phase, right? You need to engage with the language. You need to kind of, it's all about formulating your own ideas, formulating your own sentences, and having some means to engage with the language. Otherwise, you're just watching videos maybe, or, practicing on an app or something like that. So that's it. That's all I got for you. If you thought the video was helpful, give it a like. If there's something that you'd like to see more of or that you think would be helpful, drop a comment. Give my channel a follow. I'd really appreciate that. I'll keep making the videos. And yeah, on to the next one. Adios.